It's finally here, the 24-25 college basketball season, aka the last ride for RJ Davis. Don't blink.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, it's Monday, November 4th, 2024. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade, and you're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your first listen or watch of the day. Big ol' shout out to the everydayers joining us, the Locked On Tar Heels Discord members, and of course our Locked On Tar Heels insiders. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. You guys, can you feel it? It's in the air. You hear it in my voice. It is opening day for college basketball. We have made it. We have survived another offseason. No more speculation about starting lineups and all this stuff. It's here and we get to see it actually happen. I cannot wait. I am elated and I know you are too. Now, it is going to be a late game tonight, but I want to say this right now. We will have a live postcast reaction. Yes, it's going to be late, but who cares? You can call in sick to work on Tuesday, whatever you got to do. Come be here for the live post-game show. Join me and 2009 national champion Mark Campbell to unpack it all. That's right. Mark Campbell is going to be joining me for the vast majority of our live reaction shows this year. Mark was part of that 09 championship team. Now he is a shooting coach, works with a bunch of different NBA players, and is going to bring a ton of valuable insight. So don't miss out. Grab a friend, bring them along. Let's party. All right. Here's where we're going today. We're going to get ready for the game. Couple storylines for the season and getting to know Elon a little bit. Four Corners preview. We'll talk a little football and then wrap up the show with our weekend whip around. Oh, what a great time of year. There's so much going on. Let's get into it. North Carolina is beginning their 115th college basketball season, and the Tar Heels will do so by welcoming the Elon Phoenix to the Smith Center tonight. It is the fourth season for Hubert Davis. How are we already here? But we are. He is coming off what is unquestionably the best season of his young career. And I even mean that against the year where they went to the national championship game, because last year in totality, you cannot argue that it was the best overall season despite losing a couple rounds earlier in the NCAA tournament. So I'm wanting to see now. I mean, remember this time last year, there were people saying Hubert Davis should be on the hot seat. Come on. What are we talking about here? So what we're looking for now is how will Carolina build on what they did last year? 8-3 in non-con play. Carolina lost, remember, to Villanova at Battle for Atlantis, and then lost back-to-back games to UConn and to Kentucky. All in all, a good non-con run. I think they wish they could have that Villanova loss back. But other than that, you got to feel really good about that. And then the exact same amount of losses in ACC play, 17-3 overall. Those three losses came in a span of 5 games at Georgia Tech. Remember the no call late as RJ Davis drove. That was a great play. Against Clemson at home. I think that was the game that Seth Trimble missed that Carolina wins if he's playing, in my opinion. And then at Syracuse. That's it. The most games any team has won in the ACC in the 20-game era. So impressive. So how does Carolina build on that? That's what we're watching for. Let me say 2 other things, and then we'll get specifically into the Elon game. A reminder, and I don't have to remind you of this. You know it, but I want to say it. This team is going to look different than what you are used to seeing from a North Carolina basketball team. We've seen Armando Bacot patrolling the paint for quite literally the last half decade. For the last 5 years, Armando Bacot has been in there in the middle doing some great stuff. But now he's gone, and no one, not he nor someone of his skill set or body type, is going to be manning the paint for Carolina. So it's going to look quite different. And I think Coach Davis and the coaching staff, as we've heard them just talking about different things, and then what we've seen in the exhibition opportunities, this team is going to look different, but I think it is going to be a lot of fun. I think we are all going to enjoy the product that we see on the court. And so, man, just soak it up and live it up. And yes, there will be speed bumps as they try to figure that out, as they work in some freshmen and transfers. It's not going to be perfect from day one, but it's going to be fun. And we're going to enjoy all the ups and downs. It's just what it's going to be. And then here's the last thing I want to say before we get to Elon. One thing that will not look different this year, RJ Davis. And let me recall in your brain this time last year, I think some of us maybe felt that it could be a good year for RJ and a good year for Caleb Love as he went off to Arizona. But just like, what will RJ without Caleb be? And I think quite a few of us thought that it could be really good, but I don't think we knew quite just how special of a season it would be. And clearly the ACC media members didn't, because they left him off of all their preseason all ACC teams. Now we sit here on the cusp of what is guaranteed to be RJ Davis's final season. And so, as I said in the cold open, don't blink. Don't miss a game. Don't miss a moment, because by the time we get to March and you're wondering where the season went, you're going to wish you had soaked up every second of it. Every ridiculous three he hits, every great assist from Elliot, who's bouncing up and down while RJ reins in some other insane shot. Buckle up and enjoy the ride. I'm going to try to say that as much as I can. I try to say that every year, but now as well. All right. Here we go. Let's get into the game, the details. Season tip-off tonight, Monday, November 4th, on election eve. Let's focus on the basketball game. We'll let all that worry about itself later. Time, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern in the Smith Center TV. It is on ACC Network. Somebody told me on Sunday that Bleacher Report erroneously has it listed as ACC Network Extra. No. This game is on ACC Network. Duke plays Maine in the 7 o'clock slot. Carolina and Elon follows right after that at 9. There you go. FanDuel started with the line Carolina minus 30.5. As I record this, it's currently sitting at 27.5 in favor of the Tar Heels with an over-under of 150.5. Let's get to know Elon a little bit. Their head coach is Billy Taylor. This is his third year at Elon. He had 5 as the head coach at Lehigh, 6 as the head coach at Ball State. But his last year at Ball State was in 2013. Had, not a head coach for a while, and then now is in his third year for Elon. Things haven't been great. Last year they were 13-19, 6-12 in the CAA, which was good for 11th. They won just 8 games, not in conference play overall the year before that. And so just not good for Elon. Some struggles for them, live ball turnovers last year, protecting the paint, protecting the glass. So that could portend well for the Tar Heels. And unfortunately, the Phoenix aren't supposed to be any really much better this year by Ken Palm. They're the second worst team on Carolina's schedule, sitting at 297th in the country. Only Campbell on Carolina's record, on Carolina's schedule this year, is worse. They were picked in the CAA preseason poll 12th out of 14 teams. It is what it is, but that's a good opportunity for Carolina to get their sea legs up and going. If you're looking for a player there, let me just give you a couple. TK Simpkins should be their leading scorer, had 13.8 last year. He's a 6'5 sophomore and not a great shooter. He was under 30% from 3, but is able to put it in the bucket quite a bit. Also, TK's brother, TJ, joins their team this year. He's a pretty good scorer himself, but coming from like a state college institution. The next name I want to let you know is Nick Dorn. Yes, Torrin's son, playing for Elon. So that means he's guaranteed to drop like 30 tonight, right? That's just how it goes for the Tar Heels. He's a 6'7 sophomore guard, shot 36.6% from 3 last year, is the CAA's leading returning 3-point shooter. So look, again, just get ready for Nick Dorn to go off tonight. Also of interest is 7'4". Yes, 7'4" Matthew Van Komen I don't expect him to be in the starting lineup, but I think he's going to be first or second off the bench for Elon. And that's just always interesting to see. And you know what that means? Seth Trimble, time for you to go dunk all over some dude. And so that'll be fun to watch. Anyway, there's just a couple names I wanted you to know just of interest as we get ready for Elon. Let me also remind us all, myself included, that tonight is about the excitement of a new season and a game that Carolina should quite easily win. Got to play it, got to do it, sure. But to me, the most important opportunity tonight is that this game is, in a big way, learning what you need to learn ahead of the game at Kansas on Friday night. I mean, it's just 4 days from now. Carolina is going to the preseason #1 Kansas Jayhawks, close to me, just a couple hours up the road. And we got to see how they start the regular season. It's different than the exhibition games when it's like when it counts now. And so, I'm watching for a couple things like how do the freshmen settle in, specifically Ian Jackson and Drake Powell. They looked infinitely better in that game against Johnson C. Smith than they did at Memphis. Ty Claude was declared eligible now, and he's ready to go. Is he ready to give some minutes tonight? Obviously, he didn't play in the Memphis or Johnson C. Smith game, but he's been active at practice and staying engaged and all that stuff. So it's a great opportunity to get him some minutes. So it's like those kind of things that we're watching for tonight. It's enjoying and thinking about tonight, but also looking ahead and thinking toward Friday. Now, I also mentioned our live post-game reaction. You're going to want to make sure that you catch that. But also, after every game, I update all of my stats, all of my charts and data so we can keep up with it game after game after game. If you'd like to have access to those, you can do so by joining the Locked On Tar Heels Insider program, where you get to text me, have direct access to me, but also you get to be part of our Google Drive where you can see all of that. And I update it again after every game. So at any given point in time, you can see where anybody falls in my record book on that drive. I have every point ever scored for Carolina. So you can see where everyone ranks immediately right after it. It's a great perk. Anyway, come join it. Link for that is in the show notes. 2-week free trial and then just $5 a month. So what we want to do next is get to our first Four Corners preview of the regular season. We're going to do that in just a second. Right after I tell you about 5 Hour Energy. Oh boy, our friends over at 5 Hour Energy know that being a passionate football fan, it's not just a hobby, it's a way of life. It takes a lot of energy to power through all-day tailgates, touchdown celebrations, or an agonizing second overtime, which is why they've created Stan the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot with a special flavor called Fan Fuel. This energy shot made just for super fans like you. The fans who are the first in the parking lot and the last to leave. We see you at 5 Hour Energy. You know what's given me some Tar Heel fan fuel this week? The fact that tonight is the opening day of the regular season, and the fact that it's late and I need something like a 5 Hour Energy Shot to get me through it and all the recording that I'm going to have to do after that. But I love it and I cannot wait. 5 Hour Energy knows that no matter what team you root for, being a fan requires heart, soul, and a whole lot of energy. So whether you're prepping for that big tailgate or ironing your jersey, your game day to-do list is always a mile long. And that's why this limited edition Stan the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot is here to help keep you fueled throughout the season. So whatever your fan fuel is this week, do it with a 5 Hour Energy Shot. Available on 5hourenergy.com, and it ships nationwide. If you're a newcomer to the show this college basketball season, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. Let me let you know how we do, or at least part of our preview shows for basketball games, what we call a Four Corners preview. It's an ode to Coach Dean Smith and his Four Corners offense, but I just give you 4 things to be watching out for in the game that can help make you a more informed fan and can help give you something very specific to be tracking as the game goes along. Number 1, this is something that's probably number 1 every first game of the year for me, because we've been talking about it and guessing about it all offseason long, and it's this. Who will be the starting 5? Will it be the same as the Johnson C. Smith exhibition game? And as a follow-up to that, what will the rotation look like after that initial 5? How many debates have we had about this all offseason long? And what I really love is that I've had my mind changed on the starting 5 because of the exhibition games. And a lot of times that doesn't happen. A lot of times you get your starting five and you feel pretty confident and comfortable in it. I think before the exhibition games, I was rolling with the starting five of Elliot, Cadeau, RJ Davis. Those stay the same. But then at the 3, I had Ian Jackson, Cade Tyson at the 4, and Jalen Washington at the 5. Because of these exhibition games, it has become clear that Seth Trimble has to be in the starting lineup. Now, the other 4 guys I would keep the same. It's just I would now bring Ian Jackson off the bench. So that we saw for Johnson C. Smith is what I believe the starting 5 should be. Elliot, Cadeau, RJ Davis, Seth Trimble, 1, 2, and 3 in some order. Elliot the 1, but then it's kind of interchangeable beyond that. Cade Tyson at the 4, Jalen Washington at the 5. And then as part of that, beyond that, what will the depth rotation be? Well, looking at the Johnson C. Smith game, first guy off the bench was Ven-Allen Lubin. Isn't that interesting? He came in for Jalen Washington at the 16-16 mark. And then at 15:36, so just about 40 seconds later, Drake, Powell, Ian Jackson, and Jalen Withers all came in for Cadeau, Tyson, and Trimble, leaving just RJ Davis of the original 5. So granted, it was an exhibition game, but Coach Hubert Davis got in 4 subs within the first 4.5 minutes of this game. And it is those 9 that I believe are going to be the core 9 for this team, with Ty Claude getting some minutes depending on how Carolina is doing rebounding the ball. That's why he's here. And then James Brown probably getting spot minutes every now and again. Like, I expect him to get to play tonight, probably a fair share of minutes, but then like at Kansas on Friday, probably not. So it is that 9. Elliot, Cadeau, RJ Davis, Seth Trimble, Cade Tyson, Jalen Washington, Ven-Allen Lubin, Drake Powell, Ian Jackson, Jalen Withers. I expect that 9 to get the majority of the playing time for Carolina. But with Ty Claude, let me say, since he just got eligible, don't take his minutes tonight or even Friday for what his role will be. Let's hold off a couple games before we really start sinking in on that. And then, regardless of who the starting 5 are, any basketball coach would want me to remind us all of this. Watch for 2 things. Total minutes played. So often it's not about who starts, but who gets starters minutes. And then secondly, the crunch time or the closing lineup. We're probably not going to get much of an indication of that, or we shouldn't, or something is very wrong. But on Friday at Kansas, we'll probably learn a good bit more about that. 4 corners point number 2, attack. I want to see Carolina in go mode all night long. Elon finished last year 346th in defensive efficiency at KenPom. As I said earlier, they struggled with defending the paint, defending the rim, and they struggled with live ball turnovers. You know what this Carolina team is set up to do really well? Take live ball turnovers and go finish them on the other end. This team has so many guys that can finish incredibly well and with authority. And so if Elon is struggling with that again this year, it could be much to Carolina's advantage. So I want to see more of what we saw in the Johnson C. Smith game. Active defensively, attacking on offense. Again, remember, we're not expecting to see the lane clogged up. We're expecting to see a lot of high ball screen action where everyone's moving and making things happen, and guys are able to get to attack the rim and either finish or get fouled. And that's what I want to see. Get to the rim, either finish through contact and get fouled, or just get fouled and then critically go to the free throw line and sink them. That's going to be where Carolina bread is buttered this year. That is going to be a big, big, big deal. Get out and run. I want to see that tempo happening that we've been promised. That's part of this attack as well. This is where we're really going to start to see what's happening. And doing all that while taking care of the ball. Carolina is going to have a lot of possessions if they're running at the rate we think they're going to be. And so we might have more total turnovers than last year, but I want to see that turnover percentage stick around that 14% range where Carolina has been the last year or two. 3, in our 4 corners preview, gang rebounding. Again, let's go back to it. Armando Bacot is not here to gobble up every single rebound like he's done for the last several years, especially in the Coach Davis era, as Carolina's gone away from 2 true bigs, and it's just been Armando Bacot, a walking double-double. That ain't a thing for Carolina anymore. And so that means it's got to be an all out, relentless attack on the glass. They must finish defensive possessions with a rebound, or else you've just guarded for 25 seconds for nothing, only to have to do it again. So I want to see all in team effort on this. And I expect to see multiple different leading rebounders for this team. And that's going to be something to track, is who can do that consistently, be a big time rebounder. Against Memphis, it was Cade Tyson who led the team with 9. But then against Johnson C. Smith, you just had a litany of guys chalking up rebounds. Van Allen Lubin led the way with 12. Drake Powell had 9. Jalen Withers had 8. Jalen Washington had 7. Cade Tyson 4. Seth Trimble 3, and on down from there. But man, that's what it's going to have to be. An all hands on deck, all in approach to getting rebounds and even slithering in and getting offensive rebounds. In this day and age, it's not just about getting in under the basket, because as many threes as teams are taking, there's going to be caroms all over the place. And that's where Carolina's athleticism can come into play as well. I want to see it on both sides of the court, cleaning up the glass. And 4 corners, preview point number 4. Let's focus in on Seth Trimble again. What a preseason he has had. The question now, though, how is that going to translate to when it starts counting? I want him to continue doing everything we've seen from him from the last couple weeks in these games as Carolina's played them. Because yes, while none of them have counted, he has surpassed his career high in points, which is 12, in all 3 preseason opportunities: 19 in the blue-white scrimmage, 33 at Memphis, and 15 in limited minutes against Johnson C. Smith. I fully expect Seth to continue doing this, but again, until it actually happens, you just don't know. And then not just doing it against Elon tonight. I want my man to go stick his nose in with all of those dudes that everyone's hyping up at Kansas, and let's just mess it up, man. And Seth is a critical part of that. So how will Seth Trimble continue his preseason tear? Hopefully very well. Thank you very much. So that's it. We're ready for football now, and it's going to be electric, and it's going to be fun. I'm sorry, for basketball now. I was thinking about football because that's where we're going next. We're ready for this basketball game. Go ahead, get your nap in, get a 5-hour energy shot, extra cup of coffee, whatever you need to do to get ready to go for the first game of the season. Now we're going to turn our attention to football and our weekend whip around. Is football kind of back? Are they rolling now? We're going to look at that in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel, get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Again, as a reminder, right now, Carolina is favored over Elon by 27.5. If you think they can cover that, it's a big spread, but why not? This offense is going to be wide open. Let's get into it. Visit FanDuel.com to get in on that action today. Again, you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com, where you never waste a hunch, and you need to go make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. If you're interested in going deeper with the football team and how the game went on Saturday and my reactions and takeaways from that, I'd encourage you to go check out our live reaction postcast to that one. But I will say a few things here as we do this and then get to our weekend whip around. I've been reflecting on the football team a lot this weekend. And what I keep coming back to is just how proud I am of this team. We've seen back-to-back years before this where Carolina has started so well, and then as we get to this point of the season is where it has completely fallen apart. This year, this team was on a 4-game losing streak, and on the day of that 4th game was where Tylee Kraft passed away. And so it would have been very easy to say, yeah, remember what happened to us the last 2 years down the stretch? And now we're on this 4-game losing streak. Tylee just passed away. You could almost understand a little bit if they started tossing in the towel and walking away. But that wasn't Carolina. That's Florida State. They're done. You saw that on Saturday. Whew. Yikes. But this team would not hear of it. And now they're the proud owners of a 2-game winning streak and on the cusp of being able to do something really special in a turnaround sort of way down the stretch of this season. And sure, it doesn't seem like they're going to, the ACC championship is out of reach. Making the CFP is out of reach for this season. But they could very well put together the type of special season that ends up matching their regular season record from last year, which then means that they could one up what they did last year by winning a bowl game on the back end of that. Is it going to happen? We don't know. But they've now put themselves in a position where you can believe it because you've seen it. We saw glimpses of it, even in that losing streak where Carolina just wasn't quite comfortable. Not all the pieces were quite there, but you saw a lot of it. And it's like, man, if they could just tweak one or two things, they could be onto something. And because of their stick-to-itiveness, because of their trust in one another and their coaches, because of fighting for Tylee, man, they're onto something now. And yes, I know Virginia isn't great, and I know Florida State's not great, but those are 2 road games against ACC opponents, and you know just as well as I do that Carolina has lost their fair share of games to not great teams. So I'm so proud of them. What I then went to thinking about this weekend is what has made the difference. Well, I came up with 5 things that to me have been quite critically helpful in this run. Number 1, getting Kamen Rucker back. We talked about that on Saturday after the game. I think that has been uniquely, critically helpful for this defense, getting back to doing what they need to do because he makes that much of a difference individually, but also his impact impacts the rest of the defense, the rest of the D-line, which then impacts the linebackers in the secondary as well, which helps the offense. I know it's just one guy in a group of 11, in a group of 22, but you know the impact that Kamen Rucker has. Number 2, Jacoby Criswell's continued settling in. He just looks more and more comfortable to me game after game after game. He knows what he's doing. He's finding that touch. He knows when to take off. He knows when to get rid of it. He has a sense for either I can get out on the edge and outrun this guy or I'm going to get sacked, so I better dump this, right? And it's just, you see it. And now they get another open week, more opportunities for him to get reps and keep settling in ahead of Wake Forest 2 weeks from now, basically. Number 3, Omarion Hampton. He hasn't changed, but his consistency has been so critical for this team and what they're able to do. And even finding new ways to get him involved, and we'll talk about that more in just a second, but you gotta use him and then you gotta play off of him. And all of that has to work together. And I think the coaching staff is finding more and better ways to do that. Number 4, the O-line is getting healthier and more comfortable with one another. Again, yes, I know Virginia and Florida State aren't great, but let me just give you some numbers as it relates to the offensive line in those 2 games. Against Virginia, 0 sacks allowed. And I know that's both the line and Jacoby and the running backs picking up in pass pro, but still 0 sacks and just 5 quarterback hurries. Against Florida State on Saturday, just 1 sack that came in that drive with a minute left at the end of the first half where you're just trying to make stuff happen. It's like, all right, fine, whatever. And zero quarterback hurries in that game. They're finding something. I'm telling you, there's just this cohesion that is now happening. And then number 5 is that receivers of all types are stepping up. Keep in mind, the beginning of this 2-game winning streak, not only is Carolina on a 4-game winning streak, but Bryson Nesbitt's done. And it's like, this could continue to go in a really bad direction. But I think the opposite has happened. I think receivers have realized, oh no, Bryson Nesbitt's gone. I got to step up and I got to make plays now. So you had J.J. Jones with a career day against Virginia. You have Omarion Hampton with 3 receptions in each of these last 2 games. John Copenhaver with 4 receptions in each of these last 2 games. Jake Johnson, Max's brother, stepping in, starting to make some catches. Other guys just getting a catch here, catch there, a couple for Kobe Pacor. Paul Billups had a catch, right? And it's just guys are starting to win balls. That was my big issue earlier, is nobody was winning plays. And now they're doing it. They're fighting and scrapping and just looking better in the process of helping out Jacoby by catching the balls that he's throwing to them. And so really encouraged by those things. And I think they're each helping make a difference. All right, gang. It's time for the shady stat of the game from the FSU game. And it's the number 5 in 2 different ways. On the offensive side, that was how many touchdowns Omarion Hampton scored. 4 on the ground, 1 through the air. And there could have been another one. He was stopped at the goal line. I think it was Carolina's second drive of the game. Unreal, but 5 touchdowns for Omarion Hampton. This dude, it's so fun to watch him play football. And then number 5 on the other side of things, that was the number of tackles for the leading tackler for Carolina in this game. There were 3 different players that had 5 tackles. And that's not a ton of tackles, but I'm encouraged by it because it means that Carolina is not relying so heavily on what, like Cedric Gray, like last year, where he's having to make 13, 14 tackles a game. It means that there are a multitude of players making plays and sticking together to do that. And so I'm encouraged that no Carolina defender had more than 5 tackles in this game, and yet Carolina held Florida State to 11 points. That is incredible, and I'm very glad to see it. All right, weekend whip around. Let's do that, and then we will get out of here. The field hockey team is now 15-0, 8-0 in ACC play, with the ACC play done, by the way. They beat number 6 Duke at Duke on Friday, 5-2, and it was disappointing for me. I say that with a laugh, but here's why. It was the first time all season Carolina has allowed more than 0 or 1 goals. Duke scored 2, and that's an abomination. And you know that if you're saying something like that, that means Carolina's having a special season. Anyway, secured first place in the ACC and in the ACC tournament because a loss, Duke was just 1 game behind, so you know what that would have meant. But Carolina is the 1 seed. They will play 8-seeded Cal in the quarterfinal on Tuesday, tomorrow. They win that, they will play in the semifinal on Wednesday against either Virginia or Syracuse. And then the 4 teams on the other side of the bracket, if Carolina should make it to the championship game, would be on Friday, either Duke, Wake, BC, or Stanford. Soccer teams, man, it was a rough weekend for both soccer teams. Not in entirety, but at least a little bit. Men lost to Boston College on Friday night, on senior night, 1-0. And here's why that's so sad. That goal for BC came in the 87th minute. So just the last couple minutes of the game. Even more painful because BC was winless in ACC play coming in. So anyway, the men are now the 6th seed in the ACC tournament. They play Cal on Wednesday in the first round. If they win, they would play Sunday in the quarterfinal against either Duke or Virginia Tech. Women soccer also lost on senior night, and this one is painful because it was against Duke. It was a 3-2 result, and so the women fall to the 4 seed in the ACC tournament. Thankfully, this is where some soccer redemption happened. They blanked number 12 nationally, Virginia Tech, on Sunday 2-0, and now they get a chance at redemption against Duke in the semifinal on Thursday, so stay tuned for that. It's a split weekend for volleyball. They're now 18-3 on the season, 10-2 in ACC play. They just did work against Clemson on Friday night, beating them 3-1, and then hosted number 16 Georgia Tech on Sunday. An opportunity to keep showing like, man, we're here, we're rolling now with some of these highly ranked national teams. And man, it was a close match. Georgia Tech took each of the first 2 sets, but it was like 25-23 and 25-21. Carolina comes back and wins each of the next 2 sets, but then Georgia Tech takes that final 5th set where he only played a 15. I think it was 15-12. So it just right there, so close, but couldn't get over the hump. Cross country had their ACC championships this weekend. Both teams finished 3rd in the ACC, men right behind Wake and Stanford. Ethan Strand and Parker Wolf finished 2nd and 3rd individually. So you hear that and it's like, how did Carolina only get 3rd with that? Well, some of the other guys were a little bit further back. Unfortunately for Parker Wolf, he can't defend his individual championship. He's been a little bit banged up. So even getting to 3rd is really impressive. And the Carolina men can't defend their team championship here either. So hopefully Parker will get back healthy because Carolina will really need him moving forward. But the women also finished third. That bumps them up where they finished fifth last year, if I remember correctly. And in fact, they actually were tied with Stanford for second, but lost in a tiebreaker. So really good stuff there from both teams to both be able to finish third and both ahead of multiple nationally ranked teams. So really, really strong showing. It's just, you're hoping to defend that ACC championship. All right, guys, that's it for today's show. So much Carolina action going on, lots of fun, and means it was a chock-a-block full show. Make sure that you are subscribed to Locked On Tar Heels on audio and video so that you don't miss a second. Hit that bell notification on YouTube so you get notified when I go live with Mark Campbell tonight after the game. You're not going to want to miss out on that. As a reminder, if you haven't joined the Locked On Tar Heels Insider Program, direct access to me, access to all of my stats and charts and data, which I'll update literally after every game, and you can go check out where things stand, man. You're going to want to make sure to do that. The link for that is in the show notes. And if you haven't joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord chat, man, now's the time. Don't miss out. If you're not part of it, you're missing out on a great community of literally hundreds of Carolina fans, and they just love it, and it's a happy place to be. The link for that is also in the show notes, and it's free to join. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. Can't wait to chat with you again tonight after the game, but until then, peace.